Hi, this is Ms. Leone, and I'm going to read to you the article of the week. Who formally declares the winner of the U.S. presidential election? This is number 46. You're going to, as you're reading, mark your confusion by highlighting important items, circling words you don't know, and inserting comments and questions in the margins. I'd like to see at least 3 of each. When you are done, you're going to write a 250-word reflection on the last page by inserting a text box. The United States is about to vote for president on November 3rd, with Democrat Joe Biden facing off against Republican President Donald Trump. Since the country is currently facing extraordinary political and social disruption, there's a real possibility of an unclear or contested result. In many other countries, the president or prime minister is chosen by direct popular vote. In other words, whoever gets the most votes wins the presidency. In the U.S., though, a candidate may win the popular vote and still not be elected to the nation's highest office. The U.S. also differs from most other democracies in that it has no independent electoral commission to certify the final vote count. So who actually confirms the winner? Step 1, before Election Day. American democracy has many elected officials, state, local, and national, and many processes for getting into office. I have been working on election campaigns since I was 8 years old. Back then, my dad ran for school board, and I went door to door asking people to vote for him. What's striking is that every race is different. Here, I'll focus on the presidential race. The presidential election certification process in the U.S. is unusual and complicated. It encompasses all 50 states and the District of Columbia, plus several government institutions, including the Electoral College, a uniquely American creation. This 4-month process was custom designed as a compromise by the signers of the Constitution. They did not believe the American people should directly choose the president and vice president. However, they didn't want to give Congress the power of selection either. The Constitution declares that American presidential elections occur on the first Tuesday in November every 4 years. But the federal election process actually begins in October. That's when the Archivist of the United States, a position chosen by the president, responsible for maintaining the government's most important official documents, sends a letter to the governor of each state. The document outlines their responsibilities regarding the Electoral College. This college is not a place but a process by which electors, people who are chosen by their party, vote for their party's presidential candidate. The electors gather in 51 separate locations once every 4 years to pick the president. The machinery of the Electoral College is complicated. In short, Americans vote for electors and the electors vote for the president. Then the president is declared. Then the winner is declared, right? Step number 2, after Election Day. Not quite. Once a final tally of voters in person, mail-in, and provisional ballots has been concluded, all 50 governors prepare their state's certificate of ascertainment. It's a document listing their electors for the competing candidates. Each state completes that process at its own rate. This year, because of the coronavirus pandemic, finalizing the electoral vote count will likely take much longer. Once completed, copies of the certificate of ascertainment are then submitted to the U.S. Archivist. After the governor submits names to the Archivist, each state's Electoral College electors meet in the state capital. Washington, D.C.'s electors meet in D.C. to formally cast their votes for president and vice president. It happens on the first Monday after the second Wednesday in December. This year, that's December 14th, 2020. Each state's electors then prepare 6 certificates of vote. These are mailed to the President of the U.S. Senate and the Archivist of the United States. The remaining 4 certificates are sent to state officials. That fulfills the Electoral College's duties until the next presidential election. Step 3, Congress meets. On January 6, Congress gathers to count the electoral votes and certify the winner of the election. Vice President Mike Pence will preside over this count in 2020. That's because the sitting vice president also serves as president of the Senate. Vice President Joe Biden did the same in January 2017 when Donald Trump officially became president-elect. Each state, called upon in alphabetical order, files its votes. This process is in some respects ceremonial. By January, the media has declared a winner, and usually the losing candidate has acknowledged their defeat. Officially, however, it is the moment of truth. At the end of the Senate's electoral vote count, the Vice President announces the results and asks if there are any objections. In 2001, Democratic House Representatives tried for 20 minutes to block Florida's highly contested electoral votes for George W. Bush. That effort failed. Objections must be signed by both a member of the House and the Senate before being voted on by both chambers of Congress. It was Vice President Al Gore's job as President of the Senate to declare Bush, his Republican opponent, the winner of the 2000 election. After the Senate certifies the election result, all the certificates of ascertainment and certificates of vote then become available for public review at the Office of the Federal Register for 1 year. Then they get transferred to the National Archives for the permanent record. Those who question the outcome of a U.S. election, in other words, can actually double-check the vote tallies themselves. In the extraordinary event that no candidate wins in the Electoral College, the House of Representatives meets to elect the next president. This is how John Quincy Adams became president in 1824. Established almost 250 years ago, this complex process is a foundation of American democracy. Many have questioned whether this old system truly represents the will of the people in modern America. Still, for 2020, it remains the process that will decide the presidential race. So your possible response questions: what are your thoughts about the process of electing the president? Do you agree with it? Disagree with it? Explain. You can pick a word, line, or passage from the article and respond to it, or you can discuss a move made by the writer in this piece that you think is good or interesting and explain.